Good afternoon and happy Friday, everybody. We are 2 minutes or 1 minute now to the hour. I will just let a few more people filter in and we will get started. But before we do, as always, feel free on your phones today. I will stipulate that if you can use your phone to join as a student today, because if you are going to follow me today, it'd be really great if you built or created as we went. So you could use your laptop to actually follow along with me and create. So if you want to use your phone to join, that would be wonderful. If not, and you have to use your laptop, absolutely go for it. Go to hellosmart.com. 313913 is my class code. You're joining as a guest today and you're going to type in your first name. Kendall, as our ever faithful, amazing webinar queen moderator, will be popping that all in the chat for you. So the hellosmart.com class code, join as guest, 313913, and then your first name. I can see some of you filtering in already. Tiffany, Cheryl, Alexandra, welcome and thank you for joining me today. If you're not sure how to use the chat feature, it's a little side button and Kendall will actually pop all of those details in the chat for you, and I can see she's already done it. Super efficient. Thanks, Kendall. All right. Now we are at 1 o'clock and I really appreciate you all joining me on a Friday. This was a bit of a test of time for us to see whether this worked for everybody and if we wanted to do some further training. Again, if you're going to join me today, jump on hellosmart.com, class code 313913, and whilst everybody is filtering in, I'm going to start a response for you all. Now, as I start the response for you all, I'm just going to gain a little bit of information about you. Most of you are here because you have been on our remote learning webinar series. So if you could chime in, there's the hellosmart.com. Again, join as guest 313913. I can see I've got 6 students in there now, which is awesome. We've got 21 attendees, so it'd be awesome if a lot of you got involved. We're going to get you hands-on today. Yes, you're going to experience it as a student, but also you're going to figure out how to create it as a teacher. And I have started a response in the background for you to get started. So if you want to answer those questions, we're going to pop them up and have a little look at them. I can see you all starting to filter into the Hello Smart activity right now, which is awesome. So let's have a look at some of your questions. All right, do you use Smart Notebook? Yes, sometimes, yes, and not lately. So we've got a few people that are using Smart Notebook. If I wanted to, I can go to list view and see. This word cloud will actually prioritize the most written answers. So you can have a look at the live results here. Have you set up a Lumio account? Some of you have, some of you haven't, which is great. We're going to do that today, which is awesome. Never fear if you have had technical issues and you haven't been able to get on as quickly as possible. This is open for you to jump on now. Ad lib halfway through, go for it. hellosmart.com 313913. I can see we've got 11 in there, which is awesome. Jump in and answer your questions. What level smart user are you? So we've got a whole range of users. A very interested user, smiley face, beginner, average, medium, moderate, low. Excellent. And then let's see, what year level do you teach? So year 5, mainly year 7 and 8, special ed for 11 and 12, year 4 to 6, 7 and 12, many year levels, years 2 to 3 and years 5 to 12. And we did have some adult education educators in our sessions earlier in the week, which is fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end that activity for me now. So let's pop that there and end the activity. All right. And so, yes, some of these activities are going to be a little bit interactive, but we're also going to learn and do a really nice slow walkthrough of Lumio. It's not about content today. It's not about year level content. It's all about the how-to, and you're actually going to bring your expertise into our activities so that we can come up with some really cool ideas on how to use this. So I'm just going to do a really quickly check-in. I do selfie check-ins with my students, but we're not doing a selfie check-in today. We're going to do, I want you to send me up a photo of something that you're passionate passionate about. I've got 14 people in my class, which is awesome. So all I want you to do is click on your select photo, and you can either find one in your library, or you can take a photo of something that you're passionate about and send it up to our Shout It Out. Now, the reason this is important, and this activity is actually called a Shout It Out. Now, you have a few options with this. You can send up images, you can send up text, you can put things in categories, which is wonderful. You can have it like a blank canvas like I have, so that all of the post-it notes pop up and I can see, oh, what a cutie. He's super cute, or she. Wonderful. So our puppies and our pets, I'm very passionate about my pet. Architecture or photography, Ange. Again, if I wanted to and I was in a normal class situation, I might actually call my students up to come off mute and discuss what their passions are. Again, making those connections to me and my students to the content, and my students to each other. We've got a few pet lovers. What a cutie. Very important in times of lockdown. Can I tell? Travel. I want to say that looks absolutely beautiful. Feel like it's somewhere in Canada. That's where it takes me to. The power of yet, my favorite word. That is my favorite word. Now, my students, if you ask my students, what are my two things that I'm most passionate about? It is the word yet and failures. Why? Because yet means that we've got an open mindset and we can learn anything and do anything. And the more we fail, the more we learn. Oh, wonderful. Horse riding. I love it. Gymkhanas. That's beautiful. Show jumping, I want to say. I'm more of a bush pony club kind of kid, but that was amazing. And you look wonderful. If that's your horse, he's beautiful. The Royal Hotel Fireys, excellent. That's so wonderful. And it looks, look at that, Christmas. That is actually, it's around the corner, everyone. So just brace yourselves. It's scary. It is September. So wonderful. This is called Shout It Out. And a couple of times we're going to do a few things for you to experience as a student, and then I'm going to show you how to build it, and then we're going to come up with an idea on how we would use it in our classrooms. So what shall we cover today? Normally in these webinars, I just go straight through what I think and how I want to teach. But today I wanted to give you a little bit of an opportunity to give me some of the activities that you may have seen in the previous webinars on Monday or last Monday that you went, oh, that's awesome. I want to know how to build that. Or if you have any questions from those webinars that you'd like me to answer today whilst we're doing our webinar or our Lumio 101. So if you can, in the dialog box, can you pop up any activities that you have seen done with me or with any other webinar or teacher that has built it or demonstrated it, or you've seen somewhere and you thought, I'd really love to know how to build that. It might be show me how to build a Shout It Out, show me how to do a workspace, how do I do those handouts, or can you guys do a race to a reveal? How do I do the click or link to pages? So pop up any that you have activities that you have seen that you would like to actually see me deconstruct and actually rebuild for you, or if you had any questions. I know that there was lots of questions on Monday. We stuck around for about an extra half an hour, which was a long time, but really, really good, and we covered a lot of stuff there. So I can see a couple of questions coming in. Show me how to build the quiz where the monster comes out of the egg when the kids are in teens. That's called Monster Quiz. I'm going to show you that today. That's awesome. Please show me how to do a workspace, and race to a reveal sounds good too. Excellent. Anything and everything. Hyperlink to pages. Yep, absolutely. So Dawn, I'm assuming, I'm just going to double check in here. Yep, Dawn. So Dawn, we spoke a little bit about that on Monday, and we'll do that at the end because it's more an advanced level skill, and happy to do a one-on-one to look at that, because that involves notebook, so building a notebook. But everything else will show and happens in Lumio. And just while we're here, I can show you that so far you've sent up a photo to Shout It Out. with a wide canvas. This time you sent up text. No one's actually found the emoji keyboard. You can actually send up an emoji, so which is super fun for students to start telling stories in emojis or how they're feeling in emojis. And I put it into categories. And the other sort of big feature of Shout It Out is that I can, if I wanted to, turn my names off. So you can see that I can take student names off their contributions, which means I can, with my senior students or adults, if they feel inhibited to answer because their name is attached to their content, I can turn them off. And then at a later date, if I want to use this as a pre-assessment or a post-assessment or a fact-finding mission, I can actually turn their names back on again. You can see that each student can have 3 contributions. I can see all of my students listed here. And again, I wanted to address this question, so I pulled it up big and I could see DAW. So if I wanted to go in and I wasn't sure of who that might be, I can come in and see that Dawn is actually DAW in that shape. So what you'll notice as well is that there's a few little red devices there. That means that these people's devices, if they're on their phone, have locked. So they've disengaged with the activity and they're engaged with something else, or they're watching my teacher's screen. So it tells me whether they're engaged with the page or whether they're disengaged with the page, and I can see who's contributed to the activity, which is amazing. Embed in Canvas LMS. Yes, absolutely. We can have a look at that today. So I can show you how to embed in Seesaw, how to embed in Google, and then how to embed in Canvas. Canvas is exactly the same as Google and Seesaw. It's taking that student link, and we will have a look at that today. Awesome. All right. So what I want to do is I want to just jump out really, really quickly now, and I want to show you how to set up an account. So let's do that together. So I'm going to bring over an incognito window. I've set up a new email account to be able to set up a new Lumio 101 account. So what I want you to do is go to loom.io, LUM.io, and Kendall will put that in the chat for you as well. So if you're here to set up a brand new Lumio account, this is it. This is your chance. Walk through it with me. All right. Okay, excellent. So this will take you to the website. I'm going to accept the cookies because I'm hungry and it's Friday. And I'm going to go not to teacher sign in, because if you have not set up an account yet, then your sign in process will be a little bit different. So I'm going to get started for free. And this, remember, will give you access to Lumio for free, all of the features. It's not limited features, it's everything. It's just limited space, which means about 10 lessons, which is a significant amount of space if you think about it. And you can try everything out in those 10 lessons. If you already have an account or your school already has bought you Lumio licenses, this will just automatically sync up with your school account if you're using your school email. Now, you're choosing sign in with Google or sign in with Microsoft. We recommend that you sign in with your school email address, and most of those, if you're New South Wales DT or even Victoria, you have the choice of 2. In New South Wales, we recommend you go Google, but if one doesn't work, then try the other. I'm going to sign in with Google, and I had set up a new Google email account to be able to do this. LumioBySmart@gmail.com. Of course I couldn't. So what we'll do is we'll sign in with my work one. There we go. Oh, because it's Google and I'm trying to do a Microsoft one. So I'm going to come back and do Microsoft. There we go. Let's sign in. And what it's going to do in New South Wales and DT, mine takes me to my works firewall, but yours will take you to your jurisdiction's firewall. So it'll take you to New South Wales DT firewall or Vic DT firewall, or if you're a TAFE, it will take you there as well. And so it's signing me in. I've got an authenticator because we've all locked down and secure these days. So I'm just authenticating it now with my face on my phone. And then we're good to go. Now, those extra steps, that's just my firewalls. So you might have an extra step with a firewall. No, WA or Western Australia DET, they have an extra firewall that they have to go through as well. It's just for your safety and your privacy protocols. All right, so this is my Lumio account. You can see I've got two. I've got a Microsoft account and a Google account. I use Google, this one here, 313913, that you're all involved in, for my demos. And this, I actually have 3 accounts. I've got my school teaching one and my work one and my demo one, which gets confusing sometimes. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to show you or give you a little walk around this area. So this is your Lumio account. If you're setting it up for the first time, it will ask you to give your account a name. I called mine Mrs. Monster's Class because I like to be honest and let my kids know up front what they're getting. So I called it Mrs. Monster's Class. You have to choose whether you're a minor or an adult. That is a good call out because I actually have all of my students that have a Lumio account. The reason being is they move from consumers of gamification and content to creators of gamification and content, and I'll actually assign activities for my students to create content for, to send to me to run for the rest of the class. So they're building the content that they're using to learn, which is amazing, and their brain works so differently to mine, which is beautiful because I don't think of things the way they do, and therefore I get really fun and imaginative games that I wouldn't otherwise think of. So what you can see here, I'm just going to turn my camera off for bandwidth, but what you can see here is here's my class name and here's my class ID. If you set up your account, you're probably looking at your class name and your class ID is slightly different. That's great because every teacher gets a unique class ID, and that's how your students will actually access your lessons. They don't need an app. They don't need to download anything. They just need to go to the internet and type in hellosmart.com and go to your class ID, and then they're in. Now, whilst we're here, let's have a little look at the different things that we can edit. So you can see I can rename my class if I want. I can reset my class ID. So if you're a preppy teacher and the number is way too long or too hard to remember, you can change the class ID. But remember, once they've signed into your class ID, it will always remember your class ID. So they'll never need to type in that number again, which is awesome. You can edit the class banner. I've just kept it that pretty purple blue because I really liked it. And if you are an adult training center, and you want to control the way that your students actually sign in, you can actually manage guest access. So that means that you don't give them the option to join as a guest with just the class ID and type in their own name. They have to actually join via their email address. So they have to use their email address to actually get into your class ID, which means everything they do is actually mapped to their email address. So you can see which students have done what, and it will also track what they've done, so it'll keep it updated. So when they go back into your lesson, it will actually start off where they left off. All right. What I want to do is show you this. This is called the training, and I'm going to let it load in the background while I'm chatting. But this training is skill specific. So if you want to today, after we've gone through this whole process, if you go, oh, I can't remember how she did the YouTube, you can actually go and look up that skill, and it'll give you a really wonderful cheat sheet. And it's still loading there. There we go. So maybe that's a skill, so you can see how to get started, and then let's enhance my lesson. Let's start engaging my students, and then let's deliver my lessons. It's broken down into those 5 steps, and this is how I share. So, but it's all skill-based. So if I say I want to get started and I want to start with a YouTube, but I'm not sure how to do it, I'm going to learn how. So what it's going to do, it's going to take me to this thing called Teacher Guide. So the Teacher Guide, again, has it all listed here for you to have a look, and there's my ad-free online video. So what you can see is it's got it broken down into 3 categories. So you've got step-by-step instructions that are along the side. So if you want to insert a YouTube, there's the instructions there. If you want some ideas on how to use YouTube in your lessons, here's some great ideas, and we break it out into engage, enhance, extend. Now on some of them, on this one it doesn't, but if I come up here, on some of them they'll have play video. Now that means that there's a video associated with this skill, and you can watch a series of videos that's either how to or ideas based on this skill. Really, really great step-by-step training that can be customized and specific for your needs. Explore resources I'm going to come back to in a second, once at the end. So I want to show you where you can pull some resources from without having to make anything and use them immediately. And then you've got your add activities. What you can see if I scroll down, here's all my content. You can see here's our session that we did on Monday, igniting your students' excitement and anticipation for your remote learning activities, which we did some really fun activities. So if you didn't get to join that one, that recording will be sent out to everybody at the end of next week with all of them in there as a nice little package. But you can see here's my library of lessons. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through adding your first couple of activities. Now if I click add activity, it will then bring me up a dialog box. Now you can see mine's connected to Google Drive, so if I wanted to pull content from Google Drive I could, or I can just upload my own content. You can see here it says import resources, so I can import PDFs, notebooks, PowerPoints, Google Slides, or I can just build from scratch if I really wanted to. Now, if I imported those documents, I could then add all of this content to it. I can create from scratch, or I can start with content I've already got and enhance it using these tools. And you can see we've got YouTube, a new page, shout it out, which is the activity that we've just done, responses and assessment, game-based activities, and then ready-made resources. And we're going to go through all of these today. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull you into this one here on my lesson. You don't have to do anything on your phone, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to do it over here. So here's my other activity. What I want to do is I want to grab a PDF. Now here's a PDF that I downloaded from the internet. It's called London Landmarks. It's got our lesson objectives. It's got a couple of teacher directing pages. It's got a couple of group activities that I want to do, an independent activity, and then a whole class activity. So I want to actually do that activity or that lesson with my students in remote learning or even in class. So let's enhance it. I can drag and drop it anywhere to import my lesson, and you can see it's as simple as dragging and dropping. But if I wanted to, I could also go to add activities and then import the resource and go to my library or local storage and then go find it that way. So there it is, London Landmarks. I can pull it in there. So you can see that there's two ways that I can pull in existing content. And the reason I do PDF is because it's the most locked down format that we actually work with. PowerPoint, you can edit a little bit. Google Slides, you can edit a little bit, but PDF, normally if I didn't have the right technology, I wouldn't be able to actually edit it at all. Whereas in Lumio, you can edit all of it equally. So what it's going to say is, hey Beck, here's your PDF. Do you want all the pages? Because if you don't want all the pages, I can leave some out. Now I might go, okay, well, I don't want lesson objectives. I don't want that in there for my students. So I'm going to add the rest. And then what it'll do is it'll pull all 7 pages that I've selected into Lumio. And it'll go, okay, we're ready. Do you want to enhance it or do we want to leave it as is? Now, here's all of your tools. My plus button down here will bring up that familiar dialog box with all of the wonderful enhanced activities that I can put into my PDF or create as a standalone. Up here you can see my selector tool. I've got a text tool, so if I want to add text to any pages I can, and an image tool. The other tools I have is my magic wand and my voice activity. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how I enhance this lesson, but then with your phone you're actually going to give me some ideas on how I would otherwise use these activities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the plus button here and I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add a shout it out. Now if I'm not sure what a shout it out is, I can press this little hat button and you can see that it'll show me a little video and it'll show me examples of how people have used Shout It Out, what Shout It Out is, how do I build one, all of those things. So it has all of these teacher training tools in there for you. I like to call it paint by numbers. They're there, they're easy, they're wonderful, and they give you good ideas on how to use them as well. But what I want to do is I want to add a Shout It Out. Now, when I add a Shout It Out, so this is the activity where you sent up a photo and then you also sent up questions and activities that you want me to cover. So what I can do is I can add the question that'll sit at the top. So the question that I sit at the top is going to be, what do you know about landmarks? Question mark. I'm going to get you to send me contributions as text, not images, and I'm going to give you one opportunity. Now, I could pop in categories if I wanted to, so that was where I popped in activities and questions, but I'm actually going to do it randomized, and I can choose whether to show names or not. Now, I'm going to show names today, so what I can do is then I can go to classic, or if I wanted to, I could do a custom. So classic is just that grey background, but if I wanted to do custom, I could either use an image, and here's the image picture here. I could use an image from my desktop that I already have, or I love this feature, I can do a Bing Safe search. So I can do, let's go Opera House, because that's a landmark I know, and I'm going to use this as the background. There we go. And now that's going to be my Shout It Out background for the question, what do you know about landmarks? Now, whilst that's coming in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a couple of ideas for you. So last week on Monday, we actually set up categories where you chose ideas. So we either decided to be analytical, creative, or practical, and you could choose one or you could do all of them if you wanted. And we were talking about hiking. So we were talking about, in the analytical column, we wanted to know the benefits of hiking. In the creative column, we wanted to come up with an alliteration. And in the practical, we wanted to come up with the essentials that you would need to go hiking, and some of them were fantastic. Now, other ways we've used Shout It Out in the last couple of webinars, we've actually asked you questions. So this was a question of, where do you hang out online? Very interesting to ask your students if you haven't ever asked them. A lot of them I actually had to go and research because I didn't know some of these places. And also the selfie check-ins that we did at the start. I give a question and my students will send a selfie check-in. Other ways we use the pictures, I will give my students categories where they have to go and find things that start with H, M, and A, because they're the letters that we're looking at this week, and they would go and take photos and add them to our categories. Now, what I'd love to do, oh, this is another one. We asked our parents what they want their kids to know and be able to do. So we actually used it to survey parents in an information night with our parents. Really, really great way to start discussion. Really interesting to see the things that they wanted their students to know and be able to do. Now, what I want to do before I show you how to build a Shout It Out, or we just saw how to build a Shout It Out, is, do you have any ideas on how you might use Shout It Out in your classroom? So in your class setting, we've got from ELC right through to year 12. If we've had a few people jump online from adult education. So if you're using it in adult education, how would you use it? Would you use it as a provocation, a check-in, some ideas on how you might use it? Would you use it in categories? Would you use the photos? I've seen amazing ones where we've done a pirate treasure hunt for 2D shapes, circles, squares, and triangles. And our preppies had to go out in groups of 3 and go out and find treasure, which were 2D shapes, circles, squares, and triangles. And they took photos or captured data of circles, squares, and triangles. And then what they did together was they shared it to, organized their data and shared it to our categories, which were circles, squares, and triangles. And just by doing that math activity, they were also covering the digital curriculum as well, which is awesome. And I can see Sam's been busy. Social emotional check-ins, amazing ones. How are you feeling today? How did you feel about the maths lesson yesterday? Awesome, awesome way to do a social emotional. Send me an emoji that explains how you feel today. I did a really awesome one with some senior students, which was called What Do You Meme? And so the day before I said, right, you need to build or find me a meme that, you know, that really speaks to you. And that a lot of them went away and built their own meme in Canva or wherever else they build them, and shared them with me, which was awesome. And I loved it. So that was the way we used image, and that was another sort of check-in. A knowledge check-in is great as well. We use it all the time. I use it all the time. So if I've taught something like nouns, and I want to send them off and let them do activities, and I've noticed that a few of them, you know, might still not have it, I'll ask them really quick, really snappy, right, we're going to do a shout it out. I want everyone to send up a noun to the board. And right there, I've got a really quick formative assessment on who knows nouns. And those that are sending up verbs and adjectives, they're the ones that I target teach for the rest of that lesson. It's really, really great for knowledge check-ins, absolutely. Snapshot of learners' understandings, absolutely, and that's exactly what we were chatting about then. You know, I want to try and choose your own adventure or Cluedo type thing using content. I love it, yes. So choosing your own adventure is a really good one, and we will show you how to do that. Probably not in Lumio 101, but I could give you the building blocks to be able to do that, because I do have a bit of a choose your own idea coming in. Post images of real world math length and width of objects, shapes, etc. I love that idea. That's awesome. The other one I've seen in maths is where a professor will give them the equation, and then they have to work it out on their piece of paper and take a photo of their solution and send it up. Now, the beauty of that means that now I've got 26 different ways my students have actually gotten to the answer, and we can actually analyze and give feedback on everybody's workings. And not only are we, is just the teacher giving feedback, but the students are giving each other feedback and gaining understanding from their peers as well. Like, oh, I love how such and such did this, and I didn't do it that way, but I think that way is a lot more efficient than my way that I did. Exit slips, student to teacher feedback, absolutely. Exit slips are great, and some of them are already built for you. So we will go into there and I will show you some exit tickets. They're awesome. Student to teacher feedback, brilliant. Giving them a voice is really important, and giving them a really safe venue for them to have that voice. Not everyone feels confident to put their hand up and talk in front of the class. Not everyone has the ability to have or the bandwidth to have their camera on and be seen by the teacher and called out. And I know that's one of the big frustrations of our students at the moment, is that, you know, they're sitting there with their little thumb next to their face and they really want to answer, but they never get called out in the class. Shout it out enables every single student to have their contributions up on the board and share with their class, and that's enough for them. But then the teacher then gets to really gain an understanding of each and every student's understanding. And, you know, you can ask questions about, did you really like this? Do you want more of this? What kind of activities did you really enjoy? I like the meme idea. It is good fun. Solve equations and showing strategy. Absolutely. Sorry, I might have stole your thunder then, but that's exactly right. So getting them to write it on a piece of paper and then sharing their strategy, brilliant. Exit tickets, absolutely. Commenting on peers' response, yes. So really great way to give each other feedback. So someone's done a presentation, do a shout it out. You know, you could have comments, questions, and feedback, and the students can give their comments, questions, and feedback for that student that's presenting, which is awesome. Did you get the concept? 100%, just knowledge check. Like, does this make sense? Quizzes, categories are great for SEL. Yes, they are amazing. Exit tickets, group work. Snapshot of learners' understanding, we've done that one. And the last one, explanation of a learning task using shout it out helps eliminate hands up, calling out, and every child is included. Bang on, 100%. Really, really wonderful ideas there, team. Love it, love it, love it. So we've just had a look at what a shout it out looks like. So I'm going to leave it on that page just so that you can navigate. So as the teacher, I've got it on teacher pace at the moment. So your phone is following where I'm at. So I've got you stuck on shout it out at the moment. All right, so I'm going to finish my shout it out. I've done a little background. Now for me, and if we remember, just to remind you, we did a what do you know about landmarks question. I'm going to do randomized, not categories, because we're just brain dumping at the moment. What do we know about landmarks? I'm using it as a formative assessment to help differentiate my teaching and learning. So I'm going to do text one for everybody, and I'm going to show the names. I've got my customized image there because I want to tune them in. Now for me, as a cheat, I like to do this. So if I can give you any hints, it is absolutely name all your pages, because when you're presenting them, you have actually forgotten what you put in the next page. So this gives you a little question, and it reiterates the question each time. Now this is in my PDF. I don't want it there. I actually want it up here. So I'm just going to grab it and move it. So again, remember this is a PDF, but everything I do to a PDF, you can do to a PowerPoint, you can do to a Google Slides, but you can also just build from scratch. All right, so maybe what we'll do is I'm going to quickly jump back to your phone, and we're going to do choose your own adventure really, really quickly. So back onto your phone, I'm going to jump in here, and at the moment you can't do anything. So it's a static page. But what I want you to do is I want you to tell me, do we go to handouts and workspaces, or do you want to go to graphic organizers and manipulatives? So do we want to learn about how to make handouts and workspaces, or do we want to learn about graphic organizers and manipulatives? Knowing that we're going to do both eventually, but just let me know which one you want to do. Now you can't do anything yet. On the fly, I'm actually going to turn this into a whole class activity. So I'm clicking the little people up the top, coming down to individual handout activity, not what I want, or collaborative workspace activity, that's what I want. So this page is static for you at the moment. I want to make it a whole class interactive activity so we can vote on which one we're actually going to look at. Now, the software will actually go, you've got 13 students in your class, how many groups do you want to make? I'm not going to make groups, I'm going to put you all in the one team. So here we are, I'm going to put you all in the one team. So I want you, when you get onto your phone, onto the activity, I want you to grab a pair of boots and take it to where you want to learn. So we've got some people want to go to graphic organizers and manipulatives, and some of our friends are looking at handouts and workspaces. Awesome. So I'm just going to give you a couple more seconds to vote. And I do this with my students all the time. I think, Ange, you were the one that was asking about choose your own journey. And this is really a wonderful way to break that Zoom fatigue. The students are engaged. They're not only expected to contribute to the activities and complete the activities, but they're actually in control and get to have some decision-making process around what they're learning. So they have control over their learning. So I'd say that our graphic organizers and manipulatives have won the day. So I'm going to, perfect, that's where we're heading right now. So why don't we do this together then to start with? I'm going to show you how to build it first. So this is a static page for you at the moment, and I'm going to leave it on that, and I'm just going to navigate over here. So we said graphic organizers and manipulatives. Now, if I wanted to add a graphic organizer where maybe the whole class and I build together, I'm going to press that little blue plus button, because that's where I go all the time. If I want to add something to my lesson flow, this is where I go, the blue plus button. And you can see down here the ready-made resources. Some of our friends earlier were talking about exit and entry tickets. That's activating prior knowledge and questioning and reflecting. We'll come to those in a second. But here's our graphic organizers and our manipulatives. Now, they're ready-made for you, and there's heaps more coming. I love them because I spend all my time building these templates, but also buying them from Teachers Pay Teachers or Twinkle or TeachStarter. So having them there, free to use, putting into my PDFs and my PowerPoints, super, super fantastic. Now, I love the I probably overuse the brainstorming web one. I really like it. It's I use it for whole class research. So if you were there on Monday, you would have seen me say we're going to research forces, and then each of my students would go away and research forces, and then they would come back together, and then we would add our own fact that we had found about resources in one of those bubbles. So then as a class, we would build knowledge around forces, which was awesome, and I love that. I also love it for just vocabulary. Cause and effect is amazing, great for narratives, but also science. And the templates are really wonderful and stripped back. So they're good for ELC right through to adult education. You can see the example there. They're using weathering, erosion, and deposition. So what happens here in the cause, and this is what the effect is. So again, all of these activities will actually have a video to show you how some teachers are using it. So there's Cornell note-taking. And these videos are all available on YouTube, and some of these lessons and contents are available as well. So you can see so many different types of templates. Sequence charts, scientific methods, story mapping we used the other day. We actually turned it into a book review. So I edited this and turned it into a book review. And everything in there is editable. So you can see that I'm going to use my favorite, brainstorming web. And I'm just going to click it, and it's just going to pop it straight into my lesson flow. Now again, it's underneath my shouted out, so I'm thinking away the way my lesson flow will go. I'm going to go, what do you know about landmarks? And then I'm going to go, okay, so give me a landmark you know. So that's a wonderful way to grab a graphic organizer. But if we also have a look at the manipulatives, now I don't think many manipulatives are going to fit with my London landmarks lesson, but that's okay. Let's have a look at them. Music teachers absolutely love this one. This is musical lines, and all of these are infinitely cloned, so you can build your own music, you can add your own text, you can pick up a pen and write into it. It's all editable. The only thing that's stationary are the music lines, the little blue title at the top that you can put your own title in, and the musical notes that are infinitely cloned. And again, that's on everything. So if we have a look, I saw a Year 9 teacher use the pattern blocks or the sorting shapes as coding. So you can see, if you want, you can put in a big shape and get them to manipulate the shapes around it using 2 different shapes. They've also got lots of other ideas and examples of that for you, but they use the shapes as coding. So they had to come up with a code using those shapes. You've got number lines, which are fantastic, and the little cars come out and they do the bounce, so you can physically show them the bounce and then write it with your pen as well. Your plus and minuses are also infinitely cloned and can be pulled up. So really it's up to you. Making words is a great one, and in fact what I could do is I could add a making words one if I wanted to. And you can customize this as well. So I could get them to make as many London landmarks that they know, or give them a landmark that we're going to look at, or the word landmark, and get them to make as many words as they possibly can. So what I would do is I would click on the letter, disable the infinitely clone, and delete the ones that I don't need for the word landmark. So I might go delete, and then what I might do to make it quicker is I might pull up landmark at the top, L-A-N-D-M-A-R-K, and as a little challenge, they have to make as many words as they can out of landmark. Okay, and if I wanted to infinitely clone these letters, I could. And all I do is click on the letter, click the little blue down arrow, and click infinitely clone. And now these letters are locked in place, and they're infinitely cloned for you to use as you would like. Now, if I had a little bit more time, I would make them line up, because the OCD in me that's driving me crazy. But I would unclone these letters and get rid of them and delete them so they're not an option. So for your sake, I'm not going to do that now and spend time doing that, but we might make the word landmark and they might have to, in individual activities or as a team or as a whole class, come up with as many words as they want. Now, we did talk about handouts and we did talk about graphic organizers, which can be found here. And we also spoke about digital manipulatives. So all of them are there. MAB blocks, have an explore of them and really have a look at the videos that suggest what you could do with them, because there are so many things. Now, these can be inserted into, again, PDFs, Google PowerPoints, Google Slides, but also used as a standalone. I'm going to delete that activity really quickly because it's not in my flow, but I'm going to, let's turn this one into a handout. We spoke about handouts and workspaces. That was the other option for our road. So let's go down that road now. So if I wanted to turn this into an activity, whether it's a workspace or a handout, now you saw me do it on the fly. I turned a static page that had the little boots on it into a whole class activity. If I'm doing it pre-lesson, before the lesson started, this little magic wand is where I go. So if I come up here to the little magic wand, I have the option, again, you can see handout activity or workspace activity. Now, handout is where I give each individual student a copy of this activity and they have to come up with all of the content by themselves, and then I get a copy of their work. Workspace is where on the fly, as a teacher, when I'm delivering it, I need to choose whether I do small group or whole class. You saw that happen when I turned the little boots activity into a workspace and it said, you've got 13 friends in your class. Here's how many groups you can make out of those 13 people, or do you want everyone in one group? And I chose everyone in one group. And I might turn this into a workspace. And so again, I like to name it whole class activity so I know what's going on there. London landmarks, title page is in the wrong spot, I might pop it up here. But what I might want to do before I get into my teacher directed pages here, where I talk about what is a landmark and then important landmarks in London, is I might want to add a YouTube. So let's go to YouTube. And all I need to do is click YouTube. Now, this is a really wonderful feature because it will embed YouTube into your lesson flow. Students will not need to go out of that browser or go into any other application to watch this video. It strips away the ads at the front, the ticker tape ads over the top, and advertisement. It won't play the next YouTube underneath. So the other thing is that the search is a white hat search. So again, anything that's been flagged as inappropriate will actually be filtered out. So you can see there's my landmark YouTube that I want to use. If I press play, that's the one. I can preview it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it so the blue square is around the YouTube, and then I'm going to add it. Now that's stripped it out of YouTube and put it directly into your PDF that's going to be delivered via Lumio, and your students will watch it in your PDF as a page, and it will take up a full page, which is awesome. Really safe way to use YouTube. But we were also looking at our workspaces. So we've made workspaces. I want to make a handout as well. This activity really quickly, I'm just going to show you, I want to do it as a small group activity. So we did a whole class. I'm going to go again to my magic wand. I'm going to, just getting my time prompt from Kendall, thanks Kenny, make this page a workspace. So I'm going to go to, this time I'm going to do small groups. So I've made a whole class, now I'm making a small group. And this activity, I might want to make a handout. So again, magic wand and handout activity. So individual activity. So you can see the difference between whole class, small group, individual activity. And then finally, maybe I want to play some games. So I had a few friends say, show me how to build the monster game. Absolutely, let's do that. So I'm going to jump into the monster games. So you can see the plus button here because I want to add something to my content. So I'm going to go to game-based activities and I'm going to click the game-based activities. Now, there are 12 actually games now. So what you'll notice is that heaps and heaps of games get added every couple of weeks or every couple of months. That's because teachers are suggesting games and then we build them for them. So I could make a word search of landmarks around the globe to start tuning them into other landmarks around the world that I want them to go research. So I could put in, you know, the Wave Rock in Western Australia and Uluru. I could, you know, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I could do a super sort that I could sort into man-made and natural. And they're really quick and easy to build. Monster quizzes here. And just while we're working, I'll show you our monster quiz. You can choose multiple choice or true or false. I'm going to choose, let's choose multiple choice. Is in what state? Question mark. I can say New South Wales or Northern Territory is where in Australia? Queensland or Victoria. Now I'm only going to do 2 questions just so you can see them. I choose the right answer. So I popped in their options and I choose the right answer, and then I'm going to add a question. This time I'm going to change it to true or false. Let's go say natural landmark. And I'm going to say that statement is true. And then I'm going to click next and say I can give it even more gamification elements. So I randomize question order. I don't have them go in the same order. That means that even if my kids are using it in the classroom and they're sitting next to each other, no one's getting the same question at the same time. And I also always put on a time limit for my questions, just to add that extra oomph to my game. And then I'm going to click next, and then you get to choose a theme. So you can choose normal monsters, you can choose spring monsters or summer monsters. I'm going to go spring because it's spring, and then finish. And it's just like that. I can make a quick monster quiz. I can equally build another game really, really quickly, like a super sort, and give you a quick example of that. Man-made, natural, and I'm going to add images. So I could actually type it in, or I can make life easier for myself and use images. Now, if I've got images saved on my laptop, I can absolutely use that. But I'm going to do a Bing Say search this time, and I'm going to do Harbour Bridge. And there we go. That's a beautiful image, and there it is. And now I'll quickly do Wave Rock. Whoops. And let's look for an image called Uluru. Now, these are important because all of these games actually give feedback to the students automatically. Now, we know how important feedback is for our students' development and how much they need it to set themselves up to succeed. They need feedback to readjust their knowledge or readjust their thinking processes or their applications. So if that feedback is delayed, for whatever reason, A, there's so many students in your class you can't get around to everybody, or B, you're remote learning and so it's really difficult to give them feedback. This feature is really important because it gives them immediate feedback automatically, and you're in control of that feedback. So your students are gaining understanding and really solidifying their knowledge and application of understanding because that feedback has been put, that feedback feature is in there for you. So really, really quickly, I've made 2 games. And then finally, just to go through a couple of other features that are there, responses here, and I'm going to show you response really, really quickly in a second. I'm going to get you to do one just so you can see it, and then I'll take you through how to build it. And then the other 2 things are activating prior knowledge and questioning and reflecting. So you've got entry tickets and exit tickets. So if I go into activating prior knowledge, you can see I've got some shouted outs. So what do you want to know about the topic? Amazing, great question to poll the students for. What do you know, want to know, or learned, or questions? So it's already set up for you. So all you have to do is click it and it pops straight in. You can do response activities. So I actually use response in a couple of different ways, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But you can use it to find out whether whether you pop in your statements and they can do true or false, and you can gain an understanding of what they know about landmarks already. And then you've got handout activities, so entry tickets, so explain briefly what you know about landmarks, or draw what you know about the topic. So giving your students those options that that would be reflective of how they like to learn. And then you've got your questioning activities, so your exit tickets or your reflection on learning, which is so important to solidify everything that they've learned. So you've got plus, minus, interesting and their thoughts on what they'd learned. 3 facts, 2 questions, 1 opinion, which I love for my students. You've got a couple more responses here, and then lots and lots of handout activities. So again, you can see 6-word summary is actually really interesting. This one's my favorite. Share 3 things you've learned, 1 thing you still wonder about. You've got your 3, 2, 1 countdown. And remember, because these are handouts, you actually keep a copy of the student work, which is excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause there for a second, and we're going to come over to this activity. And so I've got my students in my class, and I want to turn this into a workspace. I'm going to turn you all into collaborative workspace activities, and we're going to come up with some ideas about workspace, and we're also going to come up with some ideas around handouts. So I'm going to turn it into a collaborative workspace activity for you all. So thanks so much for those people that re-engaged. And I'm going to make 3 teams. So it's going to populate you into your team. Excellent. And then what it's going to do is I'm going to start the activity. And what I want you to do is choose 1 box. Just choose 1 box in your team space. And what I want you to do is in that box, come up with ideas on how you would use workspace, whether it's whole class or small group activities in your classroom. So I want you to list your ideas. So use your toolbox over here. So there's your toolbox there. And I want you to come in and choose 1 book, 1 square, and type your ideas down of how you would use workspace, whole class or small group in your class. Now, some of you did this on Monday with me with a different activity, which is awesome. So once you've got 1 or 2 ideas, I want you to have a look at your other team's ideas, and I want you to grab these little icons and pop them down. Now, I just realized that some of you, or most of you, will be on your phones. Turn your phone sideways. You probably don't have these tools down your side. I want you to click the 3 dots. There's 3 dots there. That's called the overflow button. So click that and your tools will actually pop up. Your toolbar will pop up and you can grab your text tool and then add your ideas in here. So how would you use workspaces or whole class or small group in your classroom? Now, when you've done your couple of ideas, I want you to grab these icons and pop them next to the ideas of your other friends in your team. So if you have a question about this one, you might pop the question icon down next to this one, and we might have a look at that one. If you'd like to explore this more for how it would work in your scenario, I want you to put the little search bar or the little magnifying glass. If you have a challenge to that, like that wouldn't work in my class, I don't think. I want you to put the lightning there and we can explore that further. If you love that idea, love heart. And then if you want to build on that idea and go, yeah, I love this idea, but I want to build on it, because helping engaging online, I would actually do it this way. And if you have the same idea, I want you to put the shutters on there as well. So I'm going to jump in and have a look at how some of our teams are going. It might be a little bit tricky because you're on your phones, and I apologize for making you go on your phones. But remember, if you are on your phone, you can turn it sideways. You can click the 3 dots on the side, which is the overflow button, and the tools will come up. So let's go in and have a little look at some of our other groups that are working away. Oh, these guys have been busy. Whole class phonics games, e.g. sound sorts, word for picture. I love that idea. You can even have a race to reveal. Now, the way I build it, just normal, is how I would build it normally in a page. Grab your white pen or put your text down, and then you can choose the same color, and I can't change the same color because I'm using the color wheel. There we go. And you can actually go over the color, and the students can reveal by using their eraser. So you can have the sounds and they can explore the sounds by using the eraser, erase to reveal. So I know someone was asking that the other day, earlier on. So you can actually use color and just make the color the same color as the background and go over your pictures. Really good for math too, so revealing the answer. So whole class phonics games, I love that. Interactive word searches, research hardware. Depending on the lesson, it could be either as groups, it helps for peers to support each other, absolutely. And as you can select groups, yes, I love that, erase to reveal. Nice. Let's jump into team 3. And let's see how these guys have been going. Oh, and I love that they're giving each other feedback. That's awesome. So reciprocal reading, science, investigations, and STEM. So who was this friend? Amazing, Nadine. I love this idea. And so did someone else, Angela. Angela loved this idea as well. So Angela, you must be doing science as well. I really love this idea. I love it. Lesson rotations, yes. So you can have some interactive activities with lesson rotations. Small group research skill development is a really good one. Building that knowledge together and getting them to collaborate offline is a great idea. And someone really loved that idea, Nadine. Nadine and Angela have been loving each other's ideas. How wonderful. What a team. Whole class provocations, great one. And a change of pace. So yeah, absolutely. So it's not just teacher directed, it's breaking out, it's thinking about it. And I love this one. This one is a template that I've pulled from the graphic organizers. I've just added the icons at the top, and just like that, I might want to say we're doing an activity on mini beasts. I might get the students to come up with ideas on how they want to research or look at mini beasts or facts about mini beasts, and they can add their own facts, and then their friends could come in and love an idea, or I want to build on that idea. It's a really wonderful way to get them to interact with each other, but also with yourself. Awesome, and we'll just jump back to team one to see if they had any feedback as well. So interactive group games, awesome, and helping engage online. Wonderful, thanks so much team, that was really, really fun. All right, and now I'm going to do one last activity of handouts before we jump to questions, because I know that we're running out of time. I'm going to do an independent activity, an individual handout now. And this time it's a creative one. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and I am going to I'm going to pull up my teacher handout just so you can see how the handouts work. I want you to pull these shapes over, and I want you to actually build me an animal. It doesn't have to be amazing. I just want you to build me an animal, and let's see if I can guess the animal that you've built. You've got 30 seconds. All you have to do is press start on your activity. I can see Angela, Cheryl, Dawn, Nathalie, Samantha, and Tristan have all pressed start on their activity. So all you've got to do is press start. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. When you're done, press done at the top, and I will jump in and have a look at your work, which is awesome, and see if I can guess which animal it is. I've not had a great strike rate lately, unfortunately, with it. So you've got about 20 seconds left. And when you're done, press done at the top. Usually I give everybody a minute, but because we are a minute to the hour, I do apologise. I do often go over time because we try and show so much, and there's so many things to be able to do in Lumio. Nathalie's done. Let's have a look. Ooh. Now, see, these are tricky because I don't know if it's going this way or if it's going that way. But I want to say it's a fish, and this is the air bubble that's coming up. I could be wrong, but Nathalie, if you want to, you can use the text box and let me know. And I can say, this is amazing. I can give Nathalie a wonderful sticker. So if I wanted to add a sticker, I've got digital stickers that I use. I love them, and I share them with you each and every time we do a webinar. So I'm going to use, you're a monstrous go-getter. You are amazing. I love it. Beautiful. I feel like it's a fish, but I could be looking at it the completely wrong way. That might be the face, that might be the leg, and that might be the tail. So it could be a zebra. Angela, how did you go? A turtle? It could be a turtle or a frog. Very cute though. I love it. Let's have a look, Samantha. It's a bird, 100% a bird. It's got really big wings though. I love it. It's a big, beautiful bird. Maybe it's a big eagle. Dan, how did you go? Nice. It's got 6 legs. It's some sort of insect, and it's got the abdomen and the back, the 3 parts of it. I can never remember what it's called. So I'm going to say, do ants? Is it an ant? I don't know. Might be good. So I can get my students to come offline. I come off mute and tell me, Tristan, how did you go? Very cute. I can see it's still coming. 2 feet, a back. I want to say horse, maybe a rhino with the head. Awesome. And Dawn, let's have a look. You've clicked tick. Oh, nice, Dawn. Feels like it's a water animal. It's got 4 legs though, so maybe it's a bee. Maybe it's a bee with its legs and its wings. I love it. Really creative. And again, that's just a handout. So I just wanted to give you a couple of ideas. You know, we have in our handouts, we do book reviews. So I changed that graphic organizer and just put my own titles in there. So we did book reviews. I get my students to do it. We did a whole session on digital citizenship, and my students had to, in one of the activities, come up with clear rules that they would teach year 4s. These were year 7 students. Clear rules that they would teach year 4s on how to keep themselves safe online, and they came up with their own ideas. And what you can see for those teachers that aren't one-to-one devices, that's Chloe and Maggie. So Chloe's laptop died that day, so Chloe jumped on with Maggie and they came up with it together, which was beautiful and really lovely to watch them. So avoiding that device isolation completely. So they were working on the one device, which is amazing. But what I want to do, the one thing I haven't shown you is response. And we did response at the start, but response is so much more than just an assessment. But even though it is an assessment, you can use it for an SEL check-in. So how are you feeling today? And the Wordles will come up and show you how they're feeling, just like this. We did it on Monday. It was a wonderful way to do a check-in. You can also do a knowledge check with response. But the best part about response is that you can set the answers so that it marks it for you. And then if you do set the answers to mark it for you, you can export the results. So when you export the results, click that little button down there, it's already exported it out into an Excel spreadsheet for you to find the data, the student data. And if you're collecting student data on SEL, you know, how they're emotionally tracking, their check-ins every day, knowledge checks, formative and summative assessments, and you'll see that happen on Monday where we're using response to capture formative assessment on students, direct our teaching, and then rerun that same formative assessment at the end to find out how the students understood and applied that concept. So you can see that I get all of my students, I get their percentages. None of these were marked because they were all short answer or a polar opinion. But if they were multiple choice, multiple answer, or true or false, I could actually set an answer to be marked, and it will mark it and show you their percentage of correct. Blue means they were short answers, so I have to teach and mark that. So really wonderful ways to use response, and you'll find response in the same area that we find it in everything, the little blue plus button. Response is here, and again, if you're not sure, click the button up the top. It'll show you a video. It'll show you what it looks like from a teacher's perspective, what it looks like from a student's perspective, how to build them. And so all you need to do is come in to add a response, choose one of your 5 answers. So it can be everything. So you can have one of each. And again, the way you can add images, and you can also add your questions and make it as long as you want. Really, really wonderful way to do both check-ins, knowledge checks, and summative data collection, particularly if you are in Victoria and New South Wales and you are expected to report on your students next term. You need to start collecting authentic student data to be able to report on, and this is a wonderful way to do it whilst also time saving. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over. We covered a lot, and I tried to pace it. So that we could cover a fair few things. But if we've missed anything, please let me know. I'm going to do our questions, comments, and any feed or ideas that you've come up with whilst we've been talking and you want to share with everybody. I do want to show you really quickly while your questions are coming up. So I'm just going to pop this one to the side, and please fill your comments in and your questions in, absolutely. But what I want to do is I want to show you the 3 areas that you can find more content. Now, if I'm in my lesson here, and remember this is my demo lesson that I'm building, if I want to find some content, have a look up here, find content. Now, I know that landmarks is a very unique topic, but if I'm doing something like multiplication or fractions, I can look up fractions, just Google it. Well, it's like a Google, it's not, it's better than that. So when I type in fractions, what it'll do is it'll come up with all lessons that have been built by teachers for teachers in here. So say I go, oh, this one looks really interesting by Asha. I'm going to jump in here because I wouldn't mind having this lesson in my lesson. Say I'm doing a lesson, let's pretend I'm doing a lesson on fractions, and I want to see it, and I can see it there, and I can see, yeah, this is the fraction lesson I want. I want to add it to my current lesson that I've already got. I've got a PDF, I've added my own games, I want to add a few more lessons in there from other people, and I'm going to save to my lesson. So that's it, and what it'll do is it'll pull that page in. Slowly but surely my internet will jump in. We've got lots of kids doing homeschooling. There you go. Again, if I wanted to, I'm going to finish this. If I wanted to find other content or just full lessons, I can go to Explore Resources. So in Explore Resources, these are the top, the most relevant, most liked lessons in Smart Exchange. So these are curated for you to use. And you can see we've got featured, and there's lots more if you want to go and have a look. Distance learning, manipulatives, emotional literacy, and manage your classroom. So these are collections of content that we have built specifically for these topics. So if you're looking at emotional literacy, you can see all of these lessons around emotional literacy that you can do immediately for your students. So if we're going to talk about growth mindset, we might go in and have a look at this lesson and go, okay, I want to have a little look, growth mindset, let's have a look at this game. Okay, so a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, so we need to sort them. Then we're going to do a shout it out, and then we're going to do, okay, so an individual activity, and then there's a game that they can play. I might really like this lesson, this whole lesson, want to do it with my students, so I can save that to my library. Now, yes, I'm navigating to a lot of primary school content, but there is senior school and adult education content on Smart Exchange as well. And I keep referencing Smart Exchange. So let's go back to home. So again, you can explore full created resources there. And again, if you wanted to, you can edit and customize those resources. So I don't have to be stuck with just these 4 pages or 5 pages. If I want to add some more content in there, or my own content, or a YouTube, I pull it in and then I can edit it, just like we did with our London Landmarks PDF. I'm going to finish editing, and then I'm going to show you one last place to find content, which is called Smart Exchange. So this is a repository of lessons that have been built up over the last, goodness, 27 years, but we've just spent a whole bunch of time and money on really going through every lesson and making sure that it's up to standard and that it is of really high quality. So you can see this is where I pulled my Maths Summer Choice Board from. But again, if you want to search for something topical for you, you can search for it here in the search bar. You can search by standard as well if you want. So you can come all the way down and you can see there's Victorian curriculum, Australian curriculum, and that's reliant on teachers who upload it to tag it. So we will have curriculum adjacent searches as well soon. So if a teacher from North America uploads an addition lesson and says it aligns with this of their standard, it'll actually go, well, that's actually in line with the ACARA standard as well, so this will actually fit. And so you can see lots of lessons here built by teachers for teachers, and again, the process is the same. Go into the lesson, have a look through it. If it's a lesson that you really like and that you really want, or maybe you want to use a couple of pages, all you do is save to Lumio, and it's going to go straight into my Lumio resource file. All right, I can see a couple of ideas and questions and comments. Dan, a Kahoot replacement, absolutely. So that's what Response is for. We use it all the time for trivia, and it actually marks it for me and keeps a result for me. So as much as Kahoot is fun, this enables me to actually build the lessons, push it to my students, and we go through it one question at a time, and then at the end I get that beautiful Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, having it all in that one place so the students don't have to go out to use different platforms. It's all about streamlining where we keep our content, how our students access it, and not having to go out to all of these platforms and have things open everywhere, and popping it all in the one lesson flow, perfect. And yes, absolutely Kahoot replacement. All right, comments. Do I have a coffee mug? Oh my goodness, Tristan. We haven't sent the email out because we've got one more webinar to go and we want to send it out to everybody. So absolutely, still coming. Coffee mug. I actually had mine this morning. It was awesome. I wanted to give you a preview, but if you want to see what it is, go on my Instagram, because when you pour the hot coffee in, it actually changes color, which is very cool. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Nat. Awesome. Thanks for coming. Are you still going to do the basic run over we spoke about on Monday? So Tristan, we might link up afterwards and just go through it. So this was just a really slow walkthrough of Lumio. So we might just touch base on sort of what sort of training we're looking for and whether you want me to do it for the whole team or just yourself. So send me an email, Tristan, if you've got my email. Otherwise, Kendall is going to take a note and reach out to you, and we will set that up for you. This was really great. You answered my questions. I got great ideas. Thanks, Dawn. That's awesome. And thank you so much for participating. Dawn, I think you've been in almost every one of my webinars, you legend. Thank you so much. And you too, I've seen you here. Thanks so much. I've answered your questions. Amazing. Another good lesson. Thanks. Loving the emoji use, Tristan. I'm loving it. Everybody being able to express themselves. Though time is limited, you handled giving relevant overviews very well. Oh, you give me comments. Thanks so much, Dawn. Thanks, great resource. You're welcome, Leanne. Thank you for some great ideas. Pleasure. All right, let's get to the questions. Can you hyperlink an item so when the response is selected, it directs students to different pages, e.g. right answer goes to the next question? Love it. Yes. So really quickly, I will show you this because I love this. I'm just going to go into, oh, yeah, there we go. So it's called, what's it called? It's called, now let me think. It's called Monster something. It's called, oh, Kenny, you're going to have to help me out here if you can remember. There's a game I used to play. It's not whack-a-mole, but it's where you throw the ball at the board and it will tap an icon and it will go to a page. Now, you can get them to, what you're talking about is link to page, Ange. Link to page is a more advanced lesson. It's where you need to have Notebook, and you can have Notebook, but you need to build it in Notebook and build the back-end structure in Notebook and then upload it to Lumio, because at the moment, because Lumio is still being, you know, is 27 years, Notebook, my apologies, is 27 years further in development than any other educational software. We haven't got everything in Lumio just yet. It's coming, but it's not there yet. So link to page isn't in Lumio yet. So you have to build in Notebook first. But there are lessons on here, and I want to call it whack-a-mole. W-A-C, whack-a-mole. Let's see if that comes. There it is. Gosh, I doubt myself. So whack-a-mole is one example where if you click on, and we use it in class because then the boards are wonderful, and you can, the 6000 has little balls that you can throw at the board, really good for fine motor and building in that kinesthetic movement. But when you throw it, you click on one of these monsters and it takes you to a question and answer option. But the other one that you want to look at, I'm going to spell it wrong. Jeopardy. There we go. That's not it. J-E-O. There we go. So there's a couple of Jeopardy games. Like this one is really cool because you can edit it. So I like them because they're already built with the links in, and then I just take their content out and readjust them. So, and it'll actually tell you, like, here you go, this is what it does and how I can change it. And then they get the Jeopardy board. So I'll take, you know, Mini Beast for 100, Mrs. Wilmo. And so you click on that and it'll take them to the question. And then you click, then you move to reveal the answer. And then if they get the points, then you go back to the Jeopardy board. So you can do that as well. But the link to page is definitely a Notebook and something that I'm happy to go over in a more advanced Lumio activity or lesson building concept training session, because it is built in Notebook and then uploaded. Okay, let me go. Hopefully that answered your questions, Ange. Can you merge content you have found in the resources? I think that was from here you answered my question. So yes, you can. Absolutely. Will that link to page be in next week's class? We can definitely put it in. Absolutely. So if you want to join Lumio 101, oh, actually, my apologies, it's our Monday webinar, Breaking the Zoom Exhaustion. Yes, we'll put it in there because that is one of the foundations of our lessons that we use. So I will ensure that that's in there. Molly is going to be your host next Monday, amazing teacher, and she will take you through it. I'll make sure that she's across that. Private school, don't think we have a notebook. Touch base with us. Send me an email. I'll pop it up in a minute, so you can send me an email. We can check for you. You don't have to have notebook. You can have Lumio without notebook, but if you do want to build the back end link to page, self-navigating, then yes, notebook. But I would suggest start with Lumio, and then we can do some more advanced training. How do you embed to Google? Yeah, okay, I'll definitely do that. Uploading to Canvas is there too. What about the adult cohort? Nat, can you elaborate on that? Your question for their content, you mean, or lesson ideas? Because we can do a whole adult education session and have lots of experts come in that are in your context area, and we'll come up with some ideas on how we can use it. Absolutely. And then I just saw the duplicate feature can let an activity be individual handout and then collab workspace, or vice versa. Dawn, love where your head's at. I actually do it with goal setting. So I do a whole class, so I use a template, and then we do a whole class goal set for this is what we're going to do, and then I turn it into a small group work activity, and then they come up as a small group with ideas of their goal setting. So how are we going to work as a team? What are we going to achieve? You know, this is what it looks like when we're successful. And so we have our whole class idea, and then we have our small group, but I also do it for individual as well. So I do a whole class, and then I do an individual goal setting session with my students. So my students will set their own individual goal sets. And then at the end of the lesson or the end of the week, we come back to that. And then on the third column, we actually go through how we went, how we thought we went. So that's what I use handouts for, which is awesome. So really great idea. All right, finally, let's really quickly look at how I share my lesson in Google Classroom or Seesaw. So I need to get into, where am I? There we are. I need to go back to my Lumio lesson. Say I love this lesson, amazing lesson. I want to share it. I'm going to click the three dots, click share link. And I'm going to, if I want to share with teachers, I just get the teacher link and share it. Be a loving angel and share your content, because you're all amazing and I'm sure you're making incredible content. Share it with your teachers. If I want to share it with my students, now it depends on what platform, it doesn't depend. It doesn't matter what platform they're on. Seesaw, Google Classroom, Teams, Canvas, Schoolbox, doesn't matter. All you need to do is copy that link and post it wherever you talk to your students. So if you're in Canvas, you can pop it into your Canvas page for that lesson or that content, or here's today's lesson, or here's this week's lesson. I know my students have got a lesson for writing the entire week. So every week, every day of the week, we come in, we click the link, and we go to the next Tuesday's activities on how we're going to use writing, or what we're going to do in writing, or what we're looking at in writing. So they have a whole week lesson. But you might have a topic lesson, you might have just today's lesson, you might have a week's lesson, whatever. Take the link, go into whatever platform you're in. I'm going to go into Seesaw, which I think, there we go. I'm a teacher. It's not going to remember me. So I had to sign out the other day because I had to access one of my kids' activities. So I'm going to go into this one here. So let's go into Google Classroom. But the concept is the same. Doesn't matter if I'm doing it in Google Classroom, Seesaw, whatever I'm demoing in. It's all about that share link. So all you have to do in Lumio is share the link. So three dots, share link, student link, copy, and then give them access to that. So come in here and you can simply just paste it if you want. You can pop it in the link. It's up to that platform where you post the link, but as long as they've got it, they can access your lesson. So wherever you post your students' content, you can find it, you can post the link there. Now, if you would like, on our YouTube channel, and we'll pop that, actually, Kendall, let's make a note, we'll pop our YouTube playlist into our email that we send out today to you, and we'll pop in the playlist for Seesaw, for Google Classroom, for Canvas, and we'll show you how they embed, and Teams. We've also got one for Teams and Zoom. So we'll pop you in those playlists so you can actually go and watch how your individual platform, you can just paste your link. But it's all you need to do in Lumio is share link, copy student link, and then take that link and pop it wherever your students access that content. Awesome. So hopefully that's answered a few questions. Let me just double check nothing else has come in. Will it ask them to log into Hello Smart? No. What it'll do is it'll take them to, so if they go to this link, it will just take them to the lesson, the Hello Smart. They don't have to type in Hello Smart, it'll take them to the link already. So I'm getting signed in as a teacher, but if they've already signed in, it will just automatically register and take them immediately to that lesson. So if you're using it on a daily basis, and you can see it's just opening up the lesson for me. So that's what it'll do for your students. If they've never signed in, it'll ask them to sign in and prompt them how to do it. Super, super simple. And that's how I get my teachers who have never used Lumio before to give their students just a standalone lesson, just an on-demand lesson, and post it into Seesaw, or post it into Google Classroom, or post it into Canvas, and then those students can just navigate that process and be in there, so that when you do run a live lesson, they know the process and it's already signed in, because it automatically saves their sign-in credentials for them, so they never have to do it again. So yeah, it will take them to the lesson, and if they've never signed in, it'll prompt them how to do it, which is awesome. How do we access the recordings? Don't stress, Nat. They're going to come to you in an email. All good. Hopefully this has helped. I have really enjoyed today's session. I'm sorry, again, we're over time again, but hopefully you've had a great afternoon and a final lovely week 8. 2 more weeks, you've got this. 2 more weeks, you can do it. If you do any lessons, share them with us, tag us in them on Twitter or on Instagram. If you need a hand, or you want us to help you with an idea that you've got, reach out, please reach out. Our emails will be at the bottom of the automatic email that gets sent out to you today. All right, team, I really hope you've had a good time. I hope you've got some ideas, and I hope that I've helped you set up for next week for some activities. Have a great weekend, enjoy, keep the feet up, and we'll see you next week, Monday, for our breaking Zoom fatigue. Thanks, everyone. Bye.